challenge to get to run, but it's we're happy we're here finally to be able to have this session. So the session is basically we will start with a presentation from Cristina Paraskevopoulou. Thank you. From Kavala around the challenges in the current policy frameworks in the 4 cities that are part of this Cure Plus project, which we are doing these seminars for. And after that, we'll have questions and answers about her presentation. And later, we have Jurn Quadt from the HER project from Rotterdam Circular. Hi, Jurn. And he'll tell us a little bit more about that project. And after that, we'll have a short presentation from Alphonse Güell from Recursos Urbans here in Barcelona. Hi, Alphonse. And then we'll have another round of questions after that. So
I think that maybe I can share without sharing the presentation, but it will look great because I don't know how to do it because of the 2 screens.
But do you want to send it to Eva so she can share?
Yes, okay. I'm sharing now. Here, I will share it here if it is okay.
Mm-hmm. I think once we get the setup, the presentation shared, we can start recording. Remind everybody that we will be recording this session. And yeah, just if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat and then we'll take them up when we have the space for the questions. Or raise your hand as well. That's also an option.
Eva, can you tell me your email because I'm on a different computer? Sorry.
I posted in the chat.
Well, good thing some more people are joining us. Hola, Caterina. We're about to start having some problems with the first presentation, but we'll get started soon enough.
Okay, so what I'm going to present here today is some parts that some data from different EU sources about how circularity and some measures of circularity are developing through the years. We're going to discuss some things about the Fit for 55 package and the policy frameworks as far as how we have identified them from the baseline studies and also from some bibliographical resources. Okay, thank you, Eva. So now I can start. So hello.
Wait, let's start the recording, yes. Please. I tried, but I can't.
Okay.
I've started recording.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So now, okay, I can start. So hello, welcome to our, let's say, webinar. My name is Cristina Paraskevopoulou, as already introduced me, Isabel, and I'm the technical expert for the municipality of Kavala. And today I will discuss and present some of the policy recommendations and the policy challenges as we have identified them so far in the project. The overview of today's presentation is to to approach the terms of Fit for 55 package and circular economy, and of course CWD management. Then we can meet the policy framework of CWD sector, and what will concern us more will be the CWD management, and in particular we will highlight the differences and similarities in CWD management in all partner cities, or let's say countries. And we will have some conclusions and recommendations, and maybe we can have also a discussion up to some questions that it will be of some interesting to discuss with you today. It is important to start. Eva, can you please change? Sorry for this. It is important to start up with the Fit for 55 package, which is a set of legislative proposals to reduce the EU greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030. In terms of the main concepts, we are concerned with, we need to consider the following: construction and demolition waste and circular economy. And while CWD significantly contributes to overall waste, accounting for over a third of all waste generated in the EU, while the circular economy concept aims to reduce material and energy use through recycling, repair and reuse. So CWD management must align with the waste hierarchy, prioritizing waste reduction, reuse and recycling over disposal. Examining the policy framework in the CWD sector among countries is crucial for promoting sustainable practices, ensuring regulatory compliance, fostering innovation and enabling effective waste management strategies. It helps to identify best practices, improve environmental outcomes, and enhance international and/or interregional collaboration on sustainability goals. So we can start with Barcelona, where the policy framework for CWD management includes national plans. And the collection responsibility is up to companies authorized by the city council. There is no pay-as-you-throw law, and as for the free system, CAS are free for citizens. Fees apply to commercial waste. Eva, maybe you can just change some of the name. Okay, thank you. And maybe the next one. Okay, in Greece, the policy framework is governed by waste management legislation law, which transposed the EU waste framework directive into Greek law. According to the national law, all producers are obliged to either organize or participate in alternative management systems. The systems are known as producer responsible organizations, and their development is satisfactory, covering almost 81% of the Greek territory and 91% of the Greek population. The key challenges that are revealed is the high cost of secondary materials and the limited funding for circular projects. In Latvia, the policy framework includes the directions regarding material efficiency, energy efficiency, and renewable energy, which are included in the strategy of achieving climate neutrality until 2050. The Circular Economy Action Plan, the Waste Management Plan, the Loan Waste Management, which serves as the primary legislation for waste management, including CWD, the National Legislation on CWD Management. And to date, I don't know, maybe Eva, you can say something later if it is not correct. And to date, there are no legal acts or planning documents in Latvia that specifically regulates to CWD waste management. And the construction sector regularities is another action plan. There is no pay-as-you-throw policy, and in Riga there are 2 waste landfills, 11 municipal waste landfills in the whole country. In Estonia, the policy framework includes the Environmental Change Charges Act, which aims to implement a landfill tax to reduce landfilling, the National Waste Management Plan, the Circular Renovation Project, And it is stated that the recycling of waste in the construction sector today is of low quality, but in the city of Tartu, there is a relatively well-developed waste management system with designated sites for depositing construction and demolition waste as soil fillers. And here we can see the difference between Estonia and the other countries mentioning previously, while the polluter pays principle is implemented. In a more general idea, in the figure shows the recycling rates of municipal waste across various countries, the countries that are in the partnership. The performance of Spain stands out, which until 2019 surpasses the other countries, and Latvia recording better performances since 2019. Greece comes lastly. In general, and despite the improvements over the year, the countries under consideration are still struggling to meet EU targets in terms of recycling rate of municipal waste. In the next figure, the projections. There are projections that we've do it with a simple linear regression approach. For the recycling rate of municipal waste are displayed. The projections based on a simple linear regression model with a trend, and the usual limitations are applied for those kind of estimations. The only dependent variable is the time, so a lot of things may change in these projections. In the same figure, there are displayed the limits by the years 2025, 2030, and 2035, and and it seems that the only country that they will succeed to meet the targets by 2035 is Latvia, and EU in total. Greece, Spain, and Estonia will lag behind the targets up to 15 units, 15 points. Thank you. European countries share common approaches to waste management and construction and demolition waste laws driven by the EU regulation. The similarities include strict recycling targets, waste reduction policies, and comprehensive frameworks for waste collection and processing. Harmonized legislation ensures that member states prioritize sustainability and resource efficiency, and this alignment fosters collaboration, enhances innovation, and facilitates the exchange of best practices. Consistent regulation across Europe also enable business to operate more efficiently across borders, reducing environmental impact and contributing to the circular economy. These similarities are crucial for achieving EU-wide environmental goals and promoting sustainable development. And here we see a comparison table which highlights the key legal instruments for municipal waste management in Greece, Spain, Estonia, and Latvia. And we see many similarities across the countries, but only in Greece there is no deposit return system available, and also a quality management system for compost is not available yet. For the economic instruments, the four countries shows differences among economic instruments for landfill and the incineration taxes and pay-as-you-throw schemes, etc. We compare the economic instruments used in the four countries. The landfill tax varies significantly by country. The incineration tax only in Estonia and Latvia have implemented this tax. Pay-as-you-throw, there are some pilot projects in some municipalities. Deposit refund system implemented nationwide only in Estonia and Latvia, and packaging ERP fees, we have different levels of modulation. Based on this, the circular material use rate is, yes, thank you. So this indicator measures the share of material recycled and fed back into the economy, thus saving extraction of primary raw materials in overall material use. So maybe here we can see that Greece lagging behind comparing to the other countries, while Estonia indicator is above also that of the EU 27 rate. And also another indicator that it is, I don't know, I think that it is important because we are discussing about circular economy and how we can implement more is the person employed in circular economy sectors. Because maybe this is also an indicator on how well we can or how we can also move things forward. So this figure is very useful since the employment trends in this sector can be indicative of how well different countries adapting and investing in sustainable economic practices. Based on the figure alone, we can say, let's say, which countries are experiencing growth in employment in circular economy sectors relative to their own starting points on 2012. And we use this approach because we want to compare the numbers. So we see that Spain and Estonia have a common level of the number of employed persons for the year 2021, and it is above the average of EU 27. Latvia has also an increased number from 2019 and it keeps growing, while Greece is on decline. We need to take into consideration more factors in order to have a safe conclusions on this, but we need also to take into consideration the workforce, the scale of circular economy in each country or in its municipality, the policy support, the economic conditions, and so on. However, it is somehow indicative of how the things are growing in the EU, or at least at the countries that we are working on. So we can summarize the legal instruments for managing CWD, which is a table specialized on CWD. Each country has a legislation for CWD management, and each country has a national plan, and all have a target of 70% by 2020. The waste permitting system is required for demolition activities. There is the quality protocol for recycled CWD, but it varies across countries. The selective demolition guidelines are available in all four. And also the hazardous CWD regulations are also presented in all four countries. As for the economic instruments, the landfill tax for the CWD especially varies significantly by country. Again, the incineration tax is implemented only in Estonia. The PAYT system is not available everywhere. And of course, you can see all the others too, because I think that I'm okay with the time, Isabella. Okay. And there are also differences and similarities in bulky waste management among the countries that reflect variations in legislation, infrastructure, public engagement, and economic conditions. This factor influence collection methods, recycling efforts, and public awareness. If we are trying to...
Sorry, Christina, which slide?
Yes, the next one. It's okay. So these factors, yes. So understanding these aspects helps tailor strategies to improve waste management efficiency and environmental sustainability across the regions, aligning with both the EU directives and goals. We see that all four countries has many similarities in the bulky waste management. Only in Greece there is not available yet a Only in Greece, there is not available yet a producer responsibility scheme, and for the reuse centers, there is a planned expansion of existing facilities. In any case, this is more or less let's say the context and what we can find, but also we identify that implementing circularity in construction and demolition waste management faces barriers. We can discuss some of them. So there are 6 sectors that we can have barriers: environmental, economic, cultural, organizational, technical, and regulatory. Major obstacles include high cost of new technologies, a lack of circular design guidelines, the challenging economics of secondary versus primary materials. And usually these barriers hinder the transition from linear to circular waste management system, impacting both the environmental footprint and the feasibility of sustainable practices. More specifically, the lack of tools for material recovery and the absence of strong partnership networks significantly impede progress. So we need robust systems for information exchange and collaboration to advance the goals in circular economy sector. At the same time, there are also drivers, and the compelling drivers for change, and funding for circular project, financial incentive for using secondary materials, and increasing landfill cost are pushing toward more sustainable practices. These drivers not only support environmental goals, but also offer economic and social benefits, promoting recycling, innovation, and market growth, leading to a more sustainable construction industry and a healthier environment. So the drivers are more or less here. I don't want to discuss each one of them. And for Cure Plus, we have think that it is a good idea, in order to proceed with our next steps in the project, to have some multi-criteria analysis based on what policy instrument or what are the criteria in order to move forward will be, in order to have a concrete action plan and so on. This is something that we are trying to do on the next steps, and maybe we can discuss it later based on what is already presented here. So, Eva. Okay, so here is what we have in national, regional, and local plans. So a possible strategy plan involves a tiered approach with national, regional, and local plans at the same time. Each level plays a critical role, of course, in quantifying needs, involving stakeholders, establishing clear targets, reduce construction waste effectively. So maybe a national plan can identify and quantify CW management opportunities, define targets, environmental policies, provide a realistic or a regulatory framework, which I think that we have it up to a certain level in all countries. In a regional level, we can identify how we can implement the national policy, provide helps with the development of tools for the industry for the safe recycling of materials, define a performance baseline, and what we can do on this. And the local plan can involve also the local industry, the stakeholders, and so on, prioritize waste prevention, establishes building reuse schemes, and aims to clear guidance for small waste producers and SMEs. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you all. And on the last, instead of a thank you, I have created some questions that I think that we can discuss them if you want now or later. It's some questions that some of us, we have already discussed it, but also there are some questions that it is of my limitations. So I would like to discuss it with all of you. Or maybe Isabella want to pick some of them and spark the discussion.
Thank you very much, Christina. It was a really interesting presentation. We already have a question here in the chat from Brigitta. She says, I don't know if you want to say, or I can read it. Thanks for raising the circularity topic.
Yes. I didn't measure them. I found them on the EU, on the Eurostat. They are available there.
On Eurostat, on this employment on the circular economy sector.
All data are from Eurostat.
Perfect.
So you can find them there. They are open, and basically they are concerning the rates are for the municipalities, basically because they have access to those data, but for the employment it's from all people working in the specific sector.
So it would have to be review the Eurostat's criteria of what the circular economy sector employments are. So
yes,
the waste management plus preparation for reuse or etc. Great, thank you very much.
And also, maybe it is good to mention here that Willem also proposed in one of our past meetings. Willem, I don't remember the name now. I'm a little stressed for the site that you have proposed, EASEA, with the data for the circular economy.
I'm not sure which one.
Okay, I can find it and I can share it on here while
there's a web page with
developing.
data. Yeah.
Yes, because also this site that Willem proposed the other day is also very helpful, because some part of the legislation and instruments that are presented in this presentation are also from the reports of this organization.
Okay. Thanks very much. I had a couple of questions as well. With this image of the employment within a circular economy that were, for example, so strong for Spain and Latvia, if I remember correctly. However, the projection of recycled material from waste from the mixed municipal waste was not that good, specifically for Spain and Latvia. So like it feels it might be contradictory in a way, but they are data from different parts. It goes a little bit against what you would expect. No, Latvia has a very good target there for recycling rate. But
Latvia is the best everywhere.
The best. Yeah. But the case for Spain, for example, even though they had a lot of employment within circular economy, the recycling rate is lower than it had been before, which or not growing as much. So I wonder if you have any thoughts about that.
Yes. Basically, the thing is that this projection is on the recycling rate of municipal waste, but the employment is all sectors. Is the specific sector that it is waste management and other activities, but it can be from the municipalities, it could be public or private companies. So that's why we have maybe
there might be a discrepancy sector-based.
Yes, but at the same time, we can say from only the employment, for the employment that there are also the private and the public sector, but for the projections, it might be some, let's say, problems, because I didn't include all other variables that may affect this. It is only a time trend. So if legislation apply on by the end of 2024 and everyone pushing for there, this, of course, percentages will change.
Yeah. Eva, you have a raised hand.
Yes, I wanted to comment on this. I think the problem of this trend is that, as you said, you didn't take into account other variables, which is also technical capacity and the potential of improvements. Yeah, And I think we look so good in this picture just because we have managed to have good improvements in the last few years. And that doesn't say that it will continue in the same way. Maybe we will have a plateau for a long time or so. Maybe we have reached our potential, or yeah. That's, as you said, there are too many variables to say that it will continue like this.
But
I would say
Eva,
for
something
Greece
happened in 2011. There is a law in 2011 that makes you fly higher.
Yeah.
But I don't know what is it.
But I can say that your potential is much higher and you can skyrocket like Greece.
The case of Greece.
Because,
yeah. As you say, the limitations are opportunities, no? You have a lot of room for improvement. I have one last question, and it's, well, actually two. One is a very practical question, and if we will get your slides so that we can share them with everyone. Yes? Yeah, that's a common question I'll have for all presenters that I'll take in the end. But the other question is, you presented barriers and drivers for the improvement of the management of construction and demolition waste. Do you see in this review that the barriers and drivers are common in all countries? Like, or is there some, or like, is there a difference from one country to another, or are these very consistent across these four countries?
Most of the drivers and the limitation, the barriers and the drivers for this are not there from some papers that we have reviewed, but they are not for all countries, so I cannot make any comparison like this. But I understand that if this applies in one or two countries, maybe we have all share the same problems. What I can do, if you want, is to share also the papers that I have reviewed for this. And to see, I think that for, as far as I remember, because I'm on a different computer now, one paper is from China and the other one is from Europe. But they are discussing the same things. So in their research, they use these barriers and they make some, let's say, questionnaires in order to measure them and so on.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's very interesting, because it's also interesting to start off with like a shorter list of topics to address, right? Or like of limitations that you can see to start working. Great. Thank you very much, Christina. We're now like a few minutes before our schedule, but I would give over the word to Jurn Quadt, if that's okay, Jurn.
Yes, that's absolutely fine.
Great. And you can share your screen, or?
Yes. Let me have a go at that. So, like this. Everyone see my presentation?
Yes, we do.
That is great. I don't know why it went all the way to the back. Yeah, there we go. So hello, my name is Jurn Quadt. I work for the municipality of Rotterdam, for the department Rotterdam Circular, in which I work on a development called The Hair, which I suppose can be classified as an urban resource center. Before I get into any more detail, I think it's best I'll just show you the projected end product and go through it roughly before I just work my way through the several details of the project. As you can see, on the left-hand side is a waste recycling center, which is nothing special in and of itself. We have 7 of them within the municipality of Rotterdam. Over on the right-hand side, you can see the circular center we have named The Hair. I'll get into the name later, which will house, amongst other things, several entrepreneurs, which we hope will use the bulky waste being brought in by Rotterdam's resident in the waste recycling center for the products they manufacture. I'll get into the several functions within the building shortly. Good to mention is, as I'm sure you're aware, and I think it's the same in many of your respective countries, that we can't have the entrepreneurs rummaging around the skips and selecting the materials they like to use themselves, unfortunately. So from what I understood is a fairly common workaround. We've created what we call a doneerplein in Dutch, or donation square, roughly translated into English over there in the middle, which connects the two sides of the development, in which we have employees with that will use an in-house built app that shows them the real-time demand the entrepreneurs in the building have for materials for their current projects. So, for instance, a resident comes in, has to go through the donation square first, and the employee of the waste recycling center will see that person has some oak wood that entrepreneur will use, and they will ask them if they are willing to donate the material for the entrepreneur to use. Storage, as in I think pretty much any circular material chain, is a chronic problem. So unfortunately, we are developing a system wherein the entrepreneur will get a notification in their app that the material they're looking for just came in, and they have 3 days to come collect it from the warehouse. So that is the basic concept. So we hope household waste will be used immediately for products. How did this all came about? Because I've been working on this project since October 23, but I have colleagues on the project that have been working on it all the way back to 2018. And it all started with, like I said, we have 7 waste recycling centers at the moment in Rotterdam. And because of severe housing shortage in the Netherlands, 2 of them will have to move to make place for housing developments. And so there was the need to build a new, larger waste recycling center in the northern part of the city next to the airport. Like the then director of the municipal department that manages waste then said, well, if we have to build a new waste recycling center, then let's make it the most circular one in the whole of Europe. And thus it began. Soon after, ideas to add what we then called an upcycle mall were added, inspired by what I believe to be one of the first of those types of places in Eskilstuna, Sweden. Colleagues of mine found a donor building. So the building you saw on the right-hand side in the artist's impression is actually a pre-existing building that was on the campus of the Technical University of Delft. It was a laboratory, to be precise. So as a municipality, we purchased the building and moved it from Delft to Rotterdam. It's being rebuilt now in Rotterdam, with a goal to have the construction finished with a total of 85% reused materials. On the picture here, you can see the laboratory being disassembled in Delft. So the goals for this project, before I get into the various functions, we are under no disillusion that the amounts of materials that will be used by the entrepreneurs in the hair building will really make a dent in the problem. Like percentage-wise, the total amount of bulky household waste being collected within the municipality of Rotterdam, it'll only be a small percentage being used. Like, I think the real goal of the project is to help show Rotterdam's residents what can be done with materials, the value of materials. So as I will show later, educational goals are very important for this project, because we hope the hair will be a place where we stimulate circular craftsmanship and mostly help inspire students, pupils, to become the circular designers and craftsmen of the future. Additionally, we will hope, because the building will also get a public function, we hope we will stimulate circular awareness amongst Rotterdam's residents and ultimately help change behavior and reduce the impact of environmental impact of bulky household waste. Some of the operational elements, like I said, the building will mostly house circular designers and makers. We have 21 spaces we will rent out, varying from the smallest being studios of about 12 square meters for starting designers, up to larger workshops, machine workshops that are roughly 130 square meters. So we've tried to offer a little bit for every type of circular entrepreneur. We also will create a shared machine workshop. This will be a wood workshop. This also will be done completely circular. So as a municipality, we are now looking to buy high quality used woodworking machines that can be used by the tenants of the building to rework bulky household waste wood that comes into. There'll be a meeting space to be used by the entrepreneurs, colleagues within our municipality, but external partners as well. There will be a restaurant, coffee shop. That space will be rented out, and there will be a store where we hope to find an entrepreneur that will come up with an interesting store concept, but that also will be a tool to sell the products being made by the various entrepreneurs within the building. Some of you may have noticed these peculiar looking boxes sticking out of the side of the building. These were originally the climate chambers used by the laboratory to test under certain specific conditions. The original climate chambers actually moved with TNO, the owner of the lab, to their new site. So we had a few 10 holes in the facade where we could have closed them up using glass, but municipality decided to create a design contest for these boxes using interesting materials, which resulted in some very interesting designs that are being built right now, but also with a challenge because, as you well know, for a lot of reused materials, there are no standardized values or certificates. And this poses a problem. For instance, one of the boxes has washing machine doors as windows. Well, what's the installation value on that? Or like constructual strength. So there's no basic values you can rely upon. So as a result, and I think this is exemplary for a lot of aspects of the building. As a result, additional time and cost were needed to research and test materials. And in some cases, in 3 of the boxes, it proved to be that complicated that we had to apply for a permit for temporary use, because then standards are a bit different. Because it proved to be very different. But it makes for, I think, very interesting small design studios. Like I said, these are the spaces that will be around roughly 12 square meters. As I mentioned before, education is a very big part of this project. I myself am in contact with various schools within Rotterdam and universities to develop an educational program to see how the HAIR can provide opportunities for them for student projects, for internships. We are creating a dedicated educational space of about 90 square meters that can be used by schools and universities in the area for student projects, lectures on location, and so forth. There also be a fairly large exhibition space in which will partly be a showcase for the products being made within the building, And for the other part, we hope to have varying exhibitions on various circular themes. Hopefully, we can create student projects for that as well to create exhibitions. And there will be events and tours regularly in the building. And I'd like to go into that in more detail, because part of my job, I work on the communication side of the project and developing an education program, but I'm also involved in the interior design, and I'm trying to connect all those by making the interior design of the building basically one big exposition, which hopefully will contribute to inspiring students and other visitors into a more circular way of thinking and working. So part of my job is to be searching for special materials that tell a story in and of themselves. And I have some examples of that that I think are exemplary for the project and the work I'm doing in it. Like one interesting aspect of this way of circular building is, as you can see here, this is a render of the large part of the exhibition space. You can see here on the ground floor, and this is the central staircase and lift or elevator, if you will. The lift shaft originally was clad with glass panels in the original building in Delft, which unfortunately shattered while attempting to disassemble them. The wooden steps of the staircase you see over there, they were stored improperly and got warped, so the wood was no longer usable. Well, I think this is exemplary of the challenges of circular building and storing materials in the meantime and so forth. But in these cases, it can sometimes be a challenge with the contractor under the pretense of planning or cost to go for new materials when something like this happened, which we definitely didn't want. So how did we fix this? That golden shimmer you see over here on the lift shaft, those are actually aluminium panels or shingles from a museum in Leiden, the Naturalis Museum for Biodiversity. By coincidence, I came into contact with an initiative of several interior builders that work within the museum industry that are trying to build a marketplace for materials that are come available when museums change exhibitions. Museums themselves are struggling sometimes to, with the waste they are producing by changing over their exhibitions every time. So they're trying to find a good home for the materials as well. So I came into contact with the Museum of Naturalis, and they donated these materials to us in exchange for us disassembling them, transporting them, and telling the story where they come from in the Hair building. And the steps we made of trees that had to be felled due to sickness or storm damage. So this is a good example of how we try to create an interior that's aesthetically pleasing, but mostly enables us to tell visitors a story about the materials used. Another interesting example is, like I said, I'm working on creating an educational program. There's various projects already started. Very close to the building site of the Hair is a carpentry school. And well, we're in talks with them. They see a lot of potential for student projects, for lessons on location in the Hair. But we decided to already start with a project. Like, we needed a meeting table for the meeting space in the Hair. And we did a trial run with Rotterdam's resident donating the raw material for the table. The students actually went to one of our waste recycling centers, spoke to residents, asked them if they were willing to donate material. And if I may say so myself, they built this rather beautiful meeting table for us. And the interesting part of it, as I've realized, it's sometimes like every school or university or I speak to, there's a lot of enthusiasm, but it can be sometimes difficult to find a way to work together whilst the building is not really there yet. And starting out with a concrete project like this really helped to intensify the cooperation, and we're starting up various projects now with this particular school. So it was a good way to get things going, so to say. This is, by the way, the meeting space it will get into. We're working on, these are carpet tiles that are redundant from one of our own municipal locations, and so we're cutting them in an interesting pattern to be reused again. Another example in which we try to create community engagement as well is the flooring in the building. For the most part will be a terrazzo floor, a cast floor, a poured floor. That normally terrazzo flooring is with shards of granite or marble. In this case, it's a floor made with shards of plastic litter. For the most part collected from Rotterdam's rivers. This is another example where we can create an aesthetically pleasing element into the building, but also that tells a story to the visitors. And we are now in talks with several primary schools in the area to see if we can create a project where pupils will collect waste plastics that can be used in the floor, and then we can create a whole program around it, workshops in the school, the collecting of the waste, and then when it's done, we can invite them over to the site to see what has become of their efforts, and create a learning opportunity there as well. As you can see, this is not a very specific render, but will be very open space. Especially a lot of glass, so the visitors can see what's going on in the entrepreneurial spaces, and I think the floor will just really add to that. Something I'm just a bit of an odd thing I'm working on, and I got text from my colleague that's on the site at this moment collecting these beams, and I think it goes to show there's no length I wouldn't go to find interesting materials for this building. At the moment, there are archaeological excavations going on in the city center of Rotterdam. And well, the name Rotterdam literally comes from a dam that was once built by the river Rotte that started the city of Rotterdam. And that very dam is being excavated at this moment. And I came into contact with the archaeologist, which is a colleague within the municipality, and found out there wasn't, they couldn't reuse or most of the wood. So I decided to make it my goal to see if I can reuse this material in some way or form in the hair, because when the archaeologist told me that this material 700 years ago, when the dam was built, was actually circular as well, because they didn't build that dam of newly cut felled trees, but of shipwrecks. So I thought that was an interesting story, that circular thinking essentially is nothing new under the sun. We've been doing it for several hundred years, and perhaps it's only the past few decades that we sort of lost track of that. And yeah, I think it tells a good story to visitors. If you can reuse 700 old materials, well, what excuse have you really got to throw away your 5-year-old table? Some of you might be wondering, like, when will this be open to visitors? Rough construction is due to be done next month. Then starting from August, late summer, we can start interior works, and then we hope to open the building to the public come February. And there will be a larger opening festival probably in the spring, somewhere around April. Yeah, that brings me back to the general concept. I hope this was somewhat clear, and otherwise very open to your questions later on. You can find more information on your website, and if you have any specific questions, please feel free to contact me via email.
Thank you very much, Jurn. That was super interesting, and you just answered one of the questions: was when will it be operational? that it was quite curious. We have our idea is that we go on to the next speaker, and then we ask questions for both of you, kind of in parallel.
Sure.
So if anybody has questions, you can start writing them down. I have written mine, so we can do the questions round after Alfon's presentation. Alphonse, would you like to start? Hello.
Yes. Hi. Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Isabel, to invite us to present our project. We are very new on that, because we have less than a year working on recursos urbanos. And if you can share the web page, please, because I'm not sure to get it.
Yeah, I think Eva had the link. I was gonna share it. Yeah, just to say, you have first year, but you've already opened, which is exciting. Very recently.
Wait, come on, let me see. No. It's not so far.
There's the web page in Spanish.
No, impossible. Yeah. I can. Okay.
No, Alphonse, Eva is sharing it.
All right.
But you can share if it's easier for you to navigate in a page on your own.
Yeah, but I can. I don't know why. But source comportation, video, comportation, la pantalla,
But do you see the screen that Eva is sharing?
I got them. That is it. Okay.
Alphonse?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, do you see the screen that Eva is sharing?
I haven't.
Because it's showing the web page from Urban Resources.
I'm sorry, but I don't know how to do it.
Don't worry about sharing. Eva is sharing her screen. Do you see it?
Okay. Okay.
You don't see the screen, do you?
No.
Oh, okay. We're seeing the web page. So we have this carousel of images. Yes. Yes,
okay.
we do.
Okay, fantastic. Anyway, our project consists basically on to introduce, to develop services and infrastructure to allow the moving of the materials recovered from construction and demolition sites to other construction works in the way to close the cycle of the materials in the construction activities. We began several months ago, and we have already a local to put the material, to show some of our materials. We work with basically with donation of the materials from the construction works, and we try to sell it. And really, we began to sell some of these materials to our industrials, our construction workers, designers that wants to take it. As you can know, you know that in Spain the management of waste is very not doesn't work very good. But in general, we have to spare in between the different autonomies or regions, because these are the competence on environment regional governments, and the differences in between regions are very big. For example, in Catalonia, we have the first degree on construction and demolition waste that comes from 1994, which is the first in Europe, I think. So we began to control the material flux streams of the construction waste, and in very few time we get the control of that waste from illegal dumping to more regulated one. That allowed to begin the recycling process. So in 2008, we get around about 65% of recycling, and now we are just 65%. So the difference is not so big because of the crisis, and because there is not enough economy to improve the recycling process. Companies can invest on technologies to make upcycling, and we are now very stopped on that. No? Another way for the prevention and the reusing of material, which is normally used to be significant before the 19th, for the Olympic Games, for example. The construction was very slow rhythm, but we think that because there are nothing now in Catalonia or in Spain, it will be easy to begin to introduce some kind of reusing materials in the market. And we realize that in very few months we are actually selling materials each week, small amounts, but enough to get some illusion and some expectations of growing. No? In fact, the project Urban Resources has been a very good reception on the environment of the construction and demolition entities that work in Catalonia. And in few time we are developing a lot of projects on this demolition, on this construction, on reusing and managing that kind of element. So if you see in the web page, our service goes from the audit of the material in the construction works, which is identify and verify that there exist materials to be recovered. The second step is to make the recovering services, which is to take it from the civil work, the construction works, and to remove from there. The third step is all the logistics, which is transport, storage, and work and cleaning of the materials. And the fourth step is to the commercialization of these materials, also to introduce, to help to introduce that materials in the new construction works. This is our expectative on that, and we will see in the next month if it's possible to maintain or to keep that project working. And but we are very interested on that, and we think that this is the good opportunity, and it's a good the moment to develop that, because of the European directives and normatives, and also because unless in Catalonia, a lot of people in the construction sector and the designers and public administration also interested in develop that. So we think it's a good moment for us, and we expect about that. That's the thing. If you have any question,
yeah, thank
you very much.
Thank you very much. Eva, if you could press on contact or about us, I wanted to ask you a little bit. Yeah, here's an online catalog, as Eva is showing. And I wanted to ask you a little bit of who is behind Urban Resources. I know it's a small group of architects or designers, engineers. How did you get started? Yeah, how did you get started? Who is behind Recursos Urbanos?
This is just a private association of different professionals on the sector. We are 5 members from England, from Italy, from Spain also, and most of them of us are architects. But for example, I am a professional who I've been working on recycling since the beginning of the 19th, as a manager of the first National Association of Construction and Demolition Recyclers, Spain, and also in a company, a consultancy on develop infrastructures of factories for recycling and planification for public administrations and things like that. So we are a team very interdisciplinary and complemented with very different experiences. We are trying to connect all that environment of agents and people interested and organizations in order to develop the circularity on construction at the beginning in Catalonia, and then we go.
Super interesting, thanks. And you said you are mostly architects. So when you recover these materials and to put it into new projects, is it mainly in projects that you are working in, or other projects that you sell other architects or construction workers the material for?
Normally, there are other architects or designers who use our materials.
Okay.
We are at the beginning, so we have a lot of ideas, a lot of things to develop, but we still not develop it. So we have to go step by step,
Mm-hmm.
and try to become bigger and get some.
And you have this online catalog of the materials, but you also have a physical store.
Yes, we have a physical store, have to develop a bigger one because storage capacity is very slow, and we are getting agreements with other companies to spare storage activities. But we will need a big one for us. It's on the project in the future.
Yeah.
That depends on probably with the implication of public organizations, for example. We need, as that example of Rotterdam, we need the help of the public authorities to develop that in the sense of that a place or some buildings or somewhere where to develop that works.
Super interesting. Thank you very much. And I think it's we'll just start going into the questions. I see that there are several questions there, but I'm going to start with this question that you just brought up, because you guys are a private organization that is starting with this work, seeing that there is this opportunity given the policy framework in Europe and the kind of trends within the region and so on. You see it's a good moment, but you're doing it on your own. Have you seen, and you see that it would be nice to have support like from the local authorities to do some work in this line. Has the current policy in Catalonia been difficult to navigate for you guys to start this initiative, or has it been easy?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, if the policy around construction and demolition waste in Catalonia, has it been a difficulty for you guys to start this work, or like has it been a problem for you how the system is set up? Okay.
No, because up to now we will develop that by our own without any help. We get some subvention for the locale we have now from the municipality of Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
And we are beginning to work with Agencia de Residuos and Entidad Metropolitana in order to develop tools from to make possible the circularity of materials. I mean, for example, we don't have a certification process, but we have a documentation system from the construction and demolition waste, and we have also a study of construction and demolition waste for each, which is necessary for each construction works. And there is a first part in that study that talks about prevention, about reusing of material. The fact is, the document now is it's not good for us because it has some ancient concepts, but we can use this document to improve it, to introduce it, the new concept of the directives from the circularity in Europe, in order to use it very quickly for the traceability of the security of that material. This is the first point we have proposed to the agencia. And we expect they will help us to develop that and introducing very quickly.
Super interesting. And this connects to the question that Brigitte has in the chat. When you sell the material, what documents as guarantees do you provide to the customer, if any? And you were talking about this documentation from the deconstruction sites of how much material can be reused or prevented, but does that information follow the material when you sell it to a new builder?
Yeah, well, we collect all the information of the materials in order to add the documentation of the buyers of the materials.
Okay.
Of course, well, first step will be to introduce some kind of ISO system to guarantee the procedures we use as a collective, also to cleaning the materials and to verify the adequation to the use. It's something to be developed, and we are beginning to work on it.
Interesting.
For us also.
Yeah. So are you guys, so you say you're collaborating with the Catalan Waste Agency, which is the regulatory body here regarding waste management. But as I understand, because you are, did he disappear? Oh, okay. Sorry. No worries. Because you are not dealing with waste, but for materials that you're recovering from the construction site, do you have a status as an organization that does preparation for reuse, or are you not a waste manager, like a gestor, or do you have an definition in your organization?
Yeah, this is a key point. Because the reusing is just a black economy now. Only reuse is black economy. So we are trying to become a white one.
Yeah.
Probably the more easy way to get it is use that elements of that kind of documentation from the waste. In order to clarify that, and after that, we need also certification to give to the construction works that some of the materials are being reused or taken to prepare to reuse. That the documents we have to use in that.
Great. So it's very much ongoing work with this whole definition. Yeah, learning by doing.
There is a lot of work in Europe and different companies as examples for us, and we use that documentation in order to develop it and introduce it in Barcelona.
Great. So I'll take this last question that's in the chat from Eva to you, Alphonse. Does the local government get involved and help you with your project? Or if not, what support would you need from either the municipality or the waste agency?
Well, we contact with a municipal authority of a metropolitan area in Barcelona. They are very interested on that, so I think there will be no problems, and that will be a very good collaboration with them. Great. Because construction and demolition waste also is part of the urban waste. Yeah. I mean, and the share is that for about 10% or less of the construction and demolition waste, so we can also introduce some planification there in order to income the materials and to try to selection of that and to prepare. So they are interested. So there's also, we are working also in that side.
Great. That's very comforting to know that there is this ongoing collaboration and they're open for this. I'll go a little bit backwards and start with some of the questions that were addressed for Jurn. Willem asks, will the secondary material available at the Hair only be used for entrepreneurs located there, or also somebody located somewhere else? Who can join the app platform?
Yes, that's a very good question. At first, we plan to only make it available for entrepreneurs in the hair itself. There's two main reasons for that. First of all, we're building an in-house app. We have to create an in-house training for the employees of the waste recycling center, because their job changes by adding this element. We expect there to be some teething problems, because now you not only have to separate material, but you have to ascertain its quality to decide whether this is really what the entrepreneur is after, whether it's usable or not, whether the material is deteriorated or has too much nails or screws in it to be so it will be too much work to repurpose it. So at first, we'll only make it available to the entrepreneurs in the building. What we are working on as a first step of potentially expanding that is to see if we can add schools, educational organizations. For example, the carpentry school I mentioned earlier, to see if we can have some wood from the waste recycling center, like create a regular stream to the school for student projects. But we'll try to make that two-way, because on the other hand, they get a lot of materials offered to them themselves from companies. They provide internships for their students. So they recently mentioned an example where they got 4 pallets full of high-grade wood veneer from a shipbuilder that was surplus to a project, and they said, yeah, we were able to use some of it for student projects, but not all of it, and we don't have the storage to keep it here. So perhaps there can be become a two-way street in time, where we provide material for the school and they provide some of their material they have left over for our entrepreneurs. So that would potentially be a first step in expanding.
This brings me to a little bit of a question of collaboration among different material sources, let's say, because as you're saying, some schools get offered from different companies or so on, and there is a big flow of secondary material that is in perfect good conditions to be reused at the industry or commercial level. And then there is more of this industrial symbiosis. There's some sort of marketplaces for that, but it normally goes around very informally. You also commented in your presentation that you, by coincidence, got in contact with these people that were dismounting this in the museum, for example, right? So is there an intention of seeing what other initiatives for material reuse there is in Rotterdam, to see if there's synergies and possibilities of collaboration, or is this too much in the future?
A bit of both, I suppose. I think we have to first focus on building a network of materials as well, and organizations for the hair. There will be a dedicated team once the building is open on the hair. So there'll be a general manager and there'll be a community manager that's there all week. And it will be part of the task of that community manager to build a network with the entrepreneurs and educational organizations within the hair, but also to connect that to the circular ecosystem in the whole of Rotterdam. So the hair doesn't become, let's say, this sort of circular island within a city, but is connected to other initiatives as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And like Alphonse was saying, this Recursos Urbans is a specific, let's say, initiative in circularity here in Barcelona, focused specifically on materials that need demolition, right? And it's not linked yet to the recycling centers, for example. Alphonse, do you think this would be something that you would want to integrate or try to collaborate and get materials, like, for example, from the recycling centers, or is that too much?
Well, the question is that the recycling company has a different idea of the business, and because of that, it's very difficult to connect with them, because they are trying to be all mechanical process with less people and workers there, and they try to automatize all the process. So I tried because all of them I know all of them. I've been working with them, and also I'm working with them now. But they are not very aware on that part of the question.
They're very comfortable in the recycling process, let's say.
Yeah. Yes. Still don't have the mentality to the reuse. Still now, but by now, I don't know in the future, but I know, yes.
Yeah. Jurn, you said, well, you are planning that this the center in the Hair will be located at the recycling center, and then the materials will come directly from there. Is there a plan of receiving material also from the other 7 recycling centers in Rotterdam, or not?
Not at this moment, no.
Okay.
No, because truth be told, this is somewhat of an experiment to a certain extent for us as a municipality as well. It's a new concept, so we are very interested to see at first, like, will it work like we now think it will. So everything will be monitored meticulously, like how many materials will be used by the entrepreneurs, what's the quality of the materials. Also from the side of the entrepreneurs, does it meet their expectations? And I think with the lessons learned there, then we'll see if we can potentially create this at other waste recycling centers, or we can connect materials from other centers. But yeah, that's all in the future. We very much have to focus on making this work first, I suppose. Yeah.
And that leads me to a question that William had made that you already answered, if the materials is available for anybody or it's just the entrepreneurs. But so you have these 12 spaces for entrepreneurs. How do you apply as a circular designer to get a space in the Hair? And how often will these spaces become available? Like, is it like a hot seats sort of thing, or if somebody gets in and doesn't leave, then we're stuck?
Yeah, that's a very good question. At this moment, it's a sort of light form of a public tender, I would say, best explanation. Entrepreneurs can apply for a space. And this relates to a question asked in the chat as well, like how is this funded, and did we consider getting external party involved? Like the building itself will be owned by the municipality, and will be the whole renting agreement, all that will be done by our real estate department. We considered for a moment to outsource this completely, but decided to keep it in-house because we want to make sure, and this relates to the public tender process, that the entrepreneurs that will get a space in the Hair are, first of all, really circular, so no greenwashing. We want to know their ideas about the amount of material they expect to use from the waste recycling center. But as I said before, and I can't stress this enough, the public and educational function is very important. So we don't want entrepreneurs in the Hair that will close their door and you'll be working away all day. And we want them to form a community and to share their knowledge and their experience and their ideas with each other, with students, with visitors, and so forth. So we've started a selection process that will hope find us those types of entrepreneurs. The first round is on the way now. We don't expect to be completely full by opening. Like market research we've done, not only into circular entrepreneurs, but more the creative sector as well. When you create a new building like this, generally doesn't completely full right away. So there's a growth model there. And it will be very interesting to see, as you said, like how long they will stay. I certainly do not hope we have the exact same entrepreneurs in 5 years' time as we have now, because our end goal is to have this circular way of entrepreneurship and thinking to be mainstream rather than an exclusive so we hope they move on to bigger spaces and they grow their businesses, of course, but yeah, time will tell.
Great, thank you very much. Another question for you in the chat is that you're currently sourcing the secondary materials for the new building. Also, they come from this other building in Delft, right? And are those materials already included in the design, or will they be included later? How is that being managed?
Yeah, well, there are two parts to that answer. For the rough build, that's all part of the design, and even there, quite often I work in close contact with the architect, and I hear him complain quite often that a certain material was supposed to be available as a used material, plasterboard, for instance, and then it turns out that the supplier can't meet our demand, or the quality isn't good enough, and we have to look for alternative options. So in that sense, the design keeps changing as we go along, which is an interesting challenge. And as far as the interior design, well, I think it's part of a circular design process that you don't create your design and then go look for the materials that fit that for the best price and so forth. That you really have to look like what's available and how can I make that work within a certain design framework.
No.
And that's, yeah, well, the examples I showed mostly for the interior design. So we have a certain framework, but within that we are looking for these special materials, and sometimes you're looking for one thing and then you accidentally stumble upon something completely different that you weren't looking for, but when you see it, you can, oh, this, we must have this. And that's something I'm to an extent struggling with myself. Is we're learning a lot of lessons in this process, like, and how can we document this in a way that colleagues that work on similar projects, circular projects in the future, can use these lessons learned. From the building side, we are creating an open document that we will share when the project is done, to show all the lessons learned, all the things the mistakes we made, in the hopes that be it other municipalities, be it companies in the real estate sector, can use these lessons from the circular building and designing process.
Interesting you say that, because it's very, well, I've been working with designing with waste for some years now, and there is this argument that is a different process. You have to have that flexibility of letting the material guide the design part partially within this framework. I would like to ask Alphonse a little bit about this. When people come to buy construction materials secondhand, are they very fixed on what they want, and they're like, no, I'm not, or they're like just looking at what's available and see what can happen? Do you see that intention?
By now, the people knows what they want and they take it. They look at, and also some of them to the website, they show that they want something with some determined particularities, and we try to look for and prepare for them if we find it or if we have it. But well, this is not at the beginning now, so you don't have a clear idea of that, about how they gonna be working or how the sales will be.
No. And do you see that people have very, like, so do they request some type of materials? Do you get asked for some materials that you do not have? Or like a little bit, Jurn is saying that they expect the entrepreneurs to ask for specific materials before it's available.
Well, there are some requests of materials, but we are concentrated on get the materials and try to organize the localization of it. But it's probably Maria has more information about that question, because I'm more working on the other side. So
okay, you're not that much in contact with yeah. Okay, good. There's another question for Jurn. Is it the regulatory framework in the Netherlands supporting secondary materials for big scale construction or not?
Yeah, this is a question the architects would be more suited to answer, but I'll try my best to there are definitely various challenges in that part, and regulatory framework that I think has to change or has to be built. Like one of the things is what I mentioned earlier, that it can be hard for reused materials. Like normally with new materials, there are standardized values. You have to meet certain a fireproofing standard or an installational value or such things. And normally when you design a building, you can just go by those numbers, see if it meets certain criteria. With reused materials, it's a question like how much is the installation value gone down over the lifespan of this material, or is the constructional strength still the same versus the new material? And what I've understood from my colleagues that manage the construction process, that they had to calculate a lot of additional cost and time very early on in the project to test all these materials, to get certification, to get this information, and this has all sorts of implication. Partly how you finance the project, like you need a lot more financing early on in the project, because you have to do all this testing and you have to accord for it in planning. So I think if there are standardized values for certain reused materials, that would definitely help that part of the process. Let me see, there was something else I wanted to say in relation to this, but I lost my train of thought.
Well, I can follow up with a question. So you guys included calculations, technical calculation and estimation of the values for some of these materials. How about the price value, the cost associated to the materials? Do you get them as cheap as construction materials, cheaper, more expensive? Are you planning to sell the materials that come into the recycling center to the entrepreneurs, or are they getting them for free?
Oh yeah, the entrepreneurs get the materials for free, for the household waste for free. Yeah, so there's no charge to that. Well, we charge them rent for the for the space in the building, of course, but no, the materials will be made available to them at no cost.
And how about the secondary materials you're using for the construction? Are those also free, or are you paying for those?
No, we're very much paying for those. Like the building, the donor building in Delft, we purchased that as a whole.
Is it cheaper or more expensive than virgin?
Ooh, that's a difficult thing. The material itself is cheaper, but the labor cost is higher. And from what I understand from architect and various people I speak to, is that this and in the Netherlands, but I think this might apply to other countries as well, is that has the taxation of material versus labor has to change in order to make reused materials more attractive. Because the thing is with the disassembling the building or using certain materials, it's labor intensive to disassemble them, to sometimes rework them, clean them, whatever you have to do to use them again. And because of that added labor cost, the materials themselves in the end are more expensive in a lot of cases than new material. But if you would tax labor on this specific circular works differently, like lower the tax on the labor.
Could bring the cost down now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Alphonse, how do you see that in the case of Recursos Urbanos? Are the prices of the materials similar to virgin materials for construction? Alphonse? Oh no, we lost him. Nope, it seems we lost him, unfortunately. Well, we have another question here. Is there growing interest from construction companies that want to think in a more circular way, typically forced by new public procurement rules in these sort of materials? I don't think that's that much. It's not. The hair is not at the point where you can see that. Like, you're not planning to sell directly to construction companies at the moment. So.
No, but the project itself is already attracting a lot of interest from the building sector as well. The contractors that are working on it, it's very interesting. They are very proud of the project, and they share a lot of their work online, and that attracts interest from other builders. So we get a lot of we notice that now we're working towards the completion of construction. We get an increased amount of requests, people both from government as from the private sector, that want to visit the site, that want to learn about the project. And that's one of the main reasons why we've decided to document this process and make it available. So we hope in that way we contribute to inspiring builders to adopt this way of working.
Nice. If Alphonse hasn't reappeared yet, I'll continue with the question that Brigitta. Alphonse, there you are. Did you hear our question before?
No, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, there's two questions. One is the price of the materials that you're selling. Is it more or less the same as virgin materials? Is it cheaper, more expensive? Jurn was telling us about like the labor costs of how labor intensive it is to prepare these materials. So what's the resulting price at the moment?
For the moment, we try to sell about 20-30% less than the new materials, except by tiles, some kind of timber, which can be also more expensive than original ones. For example, tiles are paid normally 3 times. So they pay 3 times the price of the new ones.
Because they have this vintage thing, like they're decorative tiles from back in the day and so on, no? Like there is this antique value.
Well, the tiles, for example, the roof tiles are more. I look at for when the people look for to restoration or to rehabilitation of old buildings in the rural areas. They want to use ancient material, and this kind of material also are more impermeable, so they have a good features to be reused. Not, of course, if they are broken.
Of course.
Other question, but if they keep in a good sites. You can use it and sell it with a good price.
Great, great. That sounds good. And the other question was, do you see that there is a growing interest from construction companies that want to build more circular by either buying material from you or donating material for you? Do you see that they are kind of forced by this public procurement rules or no?
I don't understand your question, sorry.
Sorry, do you see if there's interest from construction companies in buying or donating material to you because of the rules or the policies that are around?
Well, we are oriented now mainly to particular companies, designers, the small ones that works in a particular buildings, because it's easy for them to use it. But we are trying now to look to see how to reuse this material on a big buildings with a big company also.
Okay, so at the moment it's still small scale.
Yeah, we are on a project that auditing the materials that can be reused on the building of the College of Architects in Barcelona, technical architects in Barcelona. They have the reform of a complete reform of the building, and also they are interested in reuse that part of the material in another building they have in Terrassa.
Ah, okay. So they're interested in reusing their own material. That's exactly. super interesting.
This is a project.
Cool. We'll see how it goes. There's another question for Jurn. Have you evaluated the residual capacity of the building elements you bought? I'm not sure what they mean.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that question a little bit?
Birgitta, I'm going to ask you to elaborate on that question. I don't know what you mean. Is Birgitta there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
I'm sorry, it's lunchtime in Latvia. I'm taking the opportunity as I'm not speaker. So the question is about the structural strength, structural strength of the building you bought. So you are like placing an old building in a new place. You said you got this donor building, so practically you are kind of replacing it, or I don't know, maybe it's constructed as a new building. How you apply for the building permit, it's also a bit of mystery for me. But normally you would need to know about the elements. What is the rest of the strength? What is the rest of the bearing capacity of the bearing elements? So that's just a part of, I believe, of all the struggle you should go through with it. But then it's this is more like building or construction related question or issue.
Well, I can clarify that to some extent, I hope. It's good to mention that the building in Delft was built with the knowledge that it had to be taken down within 10 years, coincidentally, because of housing development needs in Delft as well. So it was partly designed with a steel construction that could be deconstructed again. So that helped. So this is unfortunately not applicable to any building you can buy as a donor building. So this was very important, and the municipality hired the architect of the donor building to help us disassemble it and restructure it, so it's not being rebuilt exactly as it was in Delft. There were some slight modifications to the steel construction to make it fit on the plot of land we had available. So yeah, involving the original architect helped a lot. The fact that it was designed in a way the steel construction at least could be disassembled. But yeah, in other cases, additional testing and new calculations had to be made. So it's definitely more complicated than it sounds. With me saying we found a building in Delft and we moved it to Rotterdam. Yeah, it's a whole lot of implications there.
You mean also physical tests were done on the structural elements, yeah, not just calculations. Because you
I'd have to
mentioned
check with the architect.
no,
I'm
not such a big deal. Just
I should be careful not
see.
saying things
Yeah,
that
that's fine.
I'm not sure of.
It's fine. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the question, Brigitte. Is there any other questions? I mean, I know I can always ask things, but if somebody else wants to take the floor. One of the things you started off saying, Jurn, is that like one of the motivations behind the HAIR project was that we can't have entrepreneurs running around the recycling centers picking up materials. So there's this workaround. And I would like to, I know that this is a common practice, but why can't we go picking out of the containers is the question. Does it seem to be too unruly just to allow anybody to go in and pick things out? Is it more the legislation that forbids it in your interpretation, or how do you see that?
Well, it's mostly legislation. Yeah, it has to do with transference of ownership of the material. Once it's handed in, it's immediately classified as a waste, and then a whole different set of rules apply, making it far less easy to be reused or to be given out to entrepreneurs. Yeah, there's also contracts with the different parties that dispose of the waste, that recycle the waste. So there's a whole set of implications, and fixing all those was far more complicated than creating this workaround. Additionally, there's a safety issue. That's pretty difficult, because you can't have like residents driving in, dropping off waste, and then entrepreneurs just rummaging in the skips to getting things out. So that's not ideal, I think. So that's definitely part of it. And I think finally we really have a challenge in storing the materials. So we wanted to create this way where we supply to demand, and not have people just collect, oh, I might be able to use this somewhere down the line for a project, because before you know it, your whole warehouse clogs up with materials. So this is a challenge, I think, for a lot of organizations that want to work with circular materials for a building project as well. Because to refer back to an earlier question, if circular way of building also means that you often have to start sooner with collecting materials. You have to test them in some cases. Sometimes you're unsure whether you can actually use it or not to the extent you plan to. But in the meantime, it has to go somewhere. And well, especially here in the western part of the Netherlands, like ground is scarce, real estate is scarce, so it's relatively expensive to store materials.
Yeah, I understand that is a challenge. So construction materials are also very voluminous, right? So it's a very big storage that is needed. But from our experiences in the visits that we've done to other urban resource centers, these centers act as a buffer, because there is this distance between when things get discarded to when things get used. And particularly one place we visited in Malmo, they were like, everything has a buyer. You just have to wait for it. You know, like a kind of materials get reconnected given enough time. And it's a challenge to provide that storage for an extended period of time. I totally understand that, but it is an interesting thought that instead of discarding directly, like having this buffer to be able to make that bridge would be interesting, I think.
Very much so, yeah.
That goes a little bit against this kind of providing on demand, right? But it is, of course, different challenges of storage and spaces and possibilities. And I would want to take back this question that I just made to you about if we can't have people just picking things out of container, and bringing Christina with the review of the policies. Do you think that I understand that to make practical changes in these things, it's the policy regulation that has to be changed. Do you think that the European policy regulation will change to allow or to permit waste material also to be re-diversified for reuse before it's discarded as waste?
I don't know, maybe yes, but as far as I understand and according to my knowledge from what is going on with the EU regulations right now in policy level, I think that they are trying to do some things because all the smaller initiatives want to be scaled up. So over the next year, I think that they will push more on scaling up all these initiatives. But I don't know, Isabel, how we can do it also. It's not an easy question for me, but I think that since they are trying to push things more and they want to scale up to a certain point, they will find a way to do it like this.
Yeah, to enable it in a way. I think another example that we visited in Copenhagen, where the local authorities have decided that, okay, you can put things, if you're a citizen, you come to the recycling center, you can put things here to be donated, right? But there's also people in the waste workers at the recycling center that select things from the container to bring them over for the donation box. So that they are allowing people to pick, but not freely and openly, but just, you know, like these reuse pickers, they're calling them. And it is also another sort of workaround that I think kind of allows us and facilitates these questions. So there is another question for both. I would start with Alphonse. Do you also work with more difficult materials like paint or chemical or hazardous components?
Not really, no.
Okay.
No.
At the moment, no.
No.
Okay. You're not selling materials at the moment, but have you purchased like secondhand paint or stuff like that in your project at the head?
No. Paint is a difficult one, I suppose. Like the example I showed with the cast floor, you can do some things with the litter plastic in there, but yeah, chemicals, liquid materials, that's a difficult one.
Yeah. So you Alfonso, also goes like, you don't imagine that becoming a possibility either.
Not really. It's a different stream of materials.
Yeah.
They have to be spread at the work at the region.
Yeah. William wrote in the chat that there's a French startup that makes new paint from used ones, and I imagine it is a different industry in a way. Like all the processes of being able to prepare for reuse in these sort of materials is also very different from construction. William, tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah. No, I came across that in a webinar from a French business school, and I was really interested because this company is just new. It's led by a woman who is a chemist, and she developed a sort of procedure to use old paint and make it into a new one. But you can exactly specify the quality of the paint, so it's very professional. And so it could be a very good solution, I think, for building industry. And she also said it's very, very difficult to do this.
Yeah.
But this is a promising development.
Do you happen to have the name or a link?
No, I need to look it up. I will
Okay.
try to find it.
Yeah, I'd be very interested in learning about that. Sounds very interesting. That's something we are working on at the moment, is to clad some of the walls with leftover canvas from the types of canvas you use to shield off building fences and so on. And we found a company that makes a bio-based glue that can dissolve with heat, so we can apply the canvas to the walls, and then once in the future that it can be disassembled again just by applying heat to it, and then it should be the material should be available for reuse yet again. So that's we're constantly thinking of these things. So I'm always interested in hearing about new leads and these kind of initiatives.
Yeah, and that leads me to another question that Eva had, that you've listed several challenges that you face in this construction and mentioned a little bit how you're overcoming them. But if you can share lessons learned or finding how to go around these challenges, I imagine that's what you meant with the documentation of the construction project. Okay, yeah.
So yes.
We wait for that documentation.
Yeah,
basically.
when the building process is done, we will create a document that will be open source, that will be available to anyone interested. I'll make sure it gets translated into English as well.
Yeah, that's an important milestone, I would say. I mean, we do have a lot of these AI translator tools, but the good doing a review of the translation is also helpful. In so many cases, it just generates a bit of confusion. But that would be very interesting. And also, well, if we could share the presentations that you presented with us.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, so that we can share it when we share the recording of this session. We have like 5 more minutes, but I think I don't know if we're happy with the questions. If anybody would like to do some comments or further questions, it's been really interesting and to explore projects that are both starting but at different stages from different sectors like private and public, right? So that give us an idea of how these policies help the process of circular construction or reuse of construction and demolition waste or not. But if I would like to open up the floor for any final comments or questions from anybody. You know, a bit of time so people decide.
Can we maybe do a group photo? We could open up our cameras.
Yeah, that would be very nice.
Otherwise, it's just screen with a lot of initials and just few faces. Oh, real persons behind screen. That's always nice to see. Hello, everyone.
Nice.
Yay.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you.
With that said, I would like to thank our 3 speakers of today, Cristina, Jurn, and Alphonse. It's been very interesting and inspiring. I hope you've all found it relevant. And if you're curious about more details, we'll share and upload the information of the 3 webinars we've made onto the Cure Plus webpage soon enough. So we'll share that information with you guys.
Yes, thank you so much for the invitation to speak here, and thanks for all your questions and interest.
I hope we can reach out to you if in case we have some more questions.
Sure.
I believe I could talk to you, I don't know, for hours, because our Urban Research Center is intended to be very much like yours, just, I don't know, 20 times smaller, but very similar in those actions. So it would be super interesting to discuss something.
I'm always open
some
to
aspects of it.
discuss it at more length, so feel free to shoot me an email. It's in my presentation that I'll share afterwards. So always open to more questions. And you're all very welcome to come visit the site in the Netherlands. I'll gladly show you around.
Super.
Thank you. And Alphonse, good luck with your new project.
Well, thank you very much.
You're doing an amazing job. Thanks.
If you want to contact us, we have the website to contact us, everyone, and at your disposal. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Alphonse. Super. Great. But then, with no further ado, I wish you all have a great rest of the day, and we'll keep in touch.
You too. Thanks again.